8 years into my marriage, my 99th IVF attempt was finally successful. I tightly gripped the pregnancy test results, eager to surprise my husband. As I passed a VIP room, familiar laughter erupted from within. It was my husband's 4 former secretaries, the ones he'd fired. Their swollen bellies looked like they could go into labor any moment. Marcus leaned down to kiss the largest belly. "Whoever gives birth to my son first, I'll reward her with billions for every pound the baby weighs." One of the secretaries hesitantly asked, "Will Grace make things difficult for us?" He sneered, 8 years and she still can't conceive. What kind of woman is that? When the time comes, I'll have the children call her godmother. That way, she can still fulfill her dream of being a mother. I quietly closed the door and called Alexander, the most mysterious man in the city's most powerful circles. "I'm planning to raise the child on my own, without the father's involvement. Do you want to step up?" Almost instantly, the call came through. The usually cold and self-possessed man's voice was now trembling. "Of course, I'm willing. I'll love any child of yours." I replied calmly, "I'll contact you tomorrow." Then I hung up. Inside the hospital room, the husband I loved was laughing and flirting with 4 young, beautiful pregnant women. "Mr. Marcus, the baby inside is kicking so hard today." The alluring woman pulled Marcus's large hand to her belly. "He must be missing his daddy. Mine's kicking even harder." The others eagerly lifted their tops. "Feel this kick, it's definitely a healthy baby boy." Marcus lazily unbuttoned his cuff, his long fingers gently stroking a pregnant belly, his voice low and tender. "Don't rush, I'll check each one of you." Waves of nauseating laughter pierced my heart. Chloe, Lily, Brittany, and Olivia were Marcus's personal secretaries, hired with substantial pay. They earned a generous 6-figure salary and were chauffeured around in luxury cars. Eiley. 6 months ago, Brittany accidentally spilled coffee on my dress. Marcus flew into a rage, smashed his cup, and roared, "Get out, all of you." He loosened his tie and furiously declared, "From now on, Hayes will never hire another female secretary." When this incident became known, socialites across the city envied me for marrying a man utterly devoted to his wife. Unable to conceive all these years, I secretly underwent 99 IVF treatments to surprise him. Each egg retrieval felt like a knife twisting inside me. Yet now, the distinguished and aloof man lowered his head and kissed Brittany's bulging belly, whispering softly, "If it's a girl when the baby is born, I'll bring all the world's treasures to her. If it's a boy, I'll personally raise him to be my heir." Shaking all over, my phone slipped and shattered on the floor. It instantly broke into pieces, just like my heart at that moment. Suddenly, a furious roar came from inside the room. "Who's out there?" His handsome face was grim, annoyance simmering in his eyes at being interrupted. The moment he pushed open the door and saw me, his fierce anger instantly turned to concern. "Grace? Why are you at the hospital?" He quickly stepped forward, taking my hand. "Are you feeling unwell?" Watching feigned innocence, I pulled my hand away from his. "What a coincidence. All the female secretaries you fired are pregnant." His face instantly turned pale. The usually arrogant CEO pleaded softly, "Grace, you have to let me explain. They set me up." His warm hand gripped mine irresistibly. "I was completely drunk that night, but I'm a man, and I have to take responsibility for them. These are 4 lives. How ridiculous. My first love, my husband, who 8 years ago personally set off a spectacular fireworks display to passionately pursue me, was now kneeling here, pleading for other women." I swallowed the bitterness in my heart and pulled out the pregnancy report from my bag. "Marcus, I'm pregnant too." "Even so, why? LL, you still choose them?" A storm surged in his eyes, and his breathing suddenly grew heavier. "Grace, are you telling the truth?" I feigned composure and handed him the thin piece of paper. The secretaries in the room exchanged glances, and the air instantly froze. Suddenly, Brittany, with her swollen belly, rushed over and snatched the report. "Oh, I thought it was something serious, but it's just a little low blood sugar." She pouted her red lips. "Mrs. Grace, this is just ridiculous. Don't go crazy with jealousy just because you see us pregnant, even lying to Mr. Marcus about this." With that, she rolled her eyes dramatically and tore the pregnancy test results to shreds. I scrambled to stop her, but slapped me, sending me to the ground. These hands had once gently caressed my face, but now they were like blades, tearing away the last shred of warmth, leaving me raw. His voice suddenly turned harsh. "Grace, I'm warning you, don't you dare harm them or my children, or I won't go easy on you." Marcus's eyes held a suffocating coldness. Brittany, however, suddenly cackled. With her hands on her hips, she said, "Mrs. Grace, didn't you know? You can't get pregnant at all. For years, Mr. Marcus secretly gave you thousands of kinds of medicine, all to prevent you from having children. So, this was the truth behind my inability to conceive. I snapped my head toward my husband, my voice trembling. Don't you think you're being too cruel to me? You know how much I love children. Right after we got married, I decorated 2 nurseries, wanting to give you a son and a daughter. He merely raised his eyes, but his words were exceptionally cruel. Grace, you owe me this. That year, during a business dinner, I was drugged. You saved me, but Claire saw it and rushed out, dying in a car accident. At her funeral, I swore that none of my future children would ever carry the blood of a wretch like you. He practically roared those last few words, full of savagery and disgust. When that woman was alive, she was his most beloved childhood sweetheart. After her death, she became the one true love of his life, forever shining in his heart. Lowering my eyes, I saw the faded, tarnished simple copper band. I cherished this wedding ring he gave me, never daring to take it off for 8 years. Yet, he spent $100 million to build a grave site for Claire, personally planting thousands of her favorite flowering trees, and engraving the tombstone with explicit love messages. He even, on her death anniversary each year, unleashed all his desires at her gravesite, facing her portrait. How naive I was all these years, thinking that if I just stayed by Marcus's side, he would eventually come back to me. But now, with 4 women catering to him, it was time for me to finally let go. Marcus, let's get a divorce. We're done. Hearing my words, his indifferent face became unreadable. Suddenly, a sneer curled his lips. Grace, you've been with me for 8 years, you're practically worn out. Who would want you if you leave me? Do you still think you're the Ms. Grace of all those years ago? If you leave me, you won't last a day in the capital city. His voice held bone-chilling coldness. With just 1 word from me, you wouldn't even be able to sweep the streets. Even if you tried to sell yourself, I'd make sure you couldn't find a single bed. I stared in disbelief at his cold-blooded face. How could he utter such words so easily? After we married, Marcus made me quit my job and become his full-time wife. It turns out he didn't care for me at all. He just wanted to clip my wings, turning me into a useless person who could only depend on him to survive. He never wanted a wife, he wanted a trained dog. Marcus looked at my stunned face and smiled, a cruel grin that sent shivers down my spine. Grace, as long as you take back what you just said about divorcing me, I'll keep you, this barren hen, for all these years you've served me. He watched my crumbling state with satisfaction, then said condescendingly, once they've had their children, I'll allow you to be a godmother. I bit down hard on my lower lip, the taste of blood spreading in my mouth. Before I could speak, the secretaries began clamoring, all talking at once. Oh, sister, don't misunderstand. We just want to join this family, not break you two apart. Brittany caressed her belly, giggling coquettishly, and feigned reaching for my arm. Wouldn't it be wonderful if all of us sisters served Mr. Marcus together from now on? I trembled as I looked at the 4 secretaries. For years, I had treated them like sisters, often asking Marcus to give them raises and secure more benefits. And now, each of them paraded around with my husband's children in their bellies, their eyes filled with venom, as if they wanted to flay and dismember me. I stopped defending myself. Expressionless, I reached up, pulled off my faded wedding ring, threw it to the ground, and turned to leave. As I brushed past Brittany, she gave me a malicious look, a wicked gleam flashing in her eyes. It happened too fast. By the time I registered what was happening, she had already fallen to the ground. Brittany clutched her swollen belly with both hands, screaming loudly, Mrs. Grace, I know you hate me. But the baby is innocent. Just because I'm having Marcus's child, do you really have to harm me like this? The next second, Marcus rushed over and violently shoved me aside. The back of my head hit the wall hard, and my vision exploded with a haze of red. He didn't even look at me, as if he were tossing aside a dirty rag. Marcus roared, demanding that every doctor in the hospital examine Brittany. I slumped onto the cold floor, watching Brittany, who, unseen by others, smirked victoriously at me. Doctors and nurses frantically rushed towards the delivery room. The pregnant woman needs surgery immediately. Where is her family? And the man for whom I had given everything rushed forward like a wild beast, declaring without hesitation, I'm here. I'm her husband. After was wheeled into the delivery room, Marcus paced anxiously by the door like a headless chicken. Suddenly, with trembling hands, he pulled a crumpled yellow charm from behind his phone case. He closed his eyes tightly, clasped his hands together, and mumbled almost hoarsely, please bless Brittany with a safe delivery. If mother and child are safe, I will recite scriptures daily and fulfill my vows. That worn good luck charm was one I had gone on a challenging pilgrimage, enduring great hardship for, my knees raw and bleeding from the journey. He had scoffed at it then, but I had tearfully begged him to accept it. Now, he was using it to pray for another woman's safe delivery. Heart-wrenching screams came from the delivery room. "Marcus, if anything happens to me, please save the baby. To bear your child. I'd die willingly." Such a melodramatic tone, it was a shame she wasn't an actress. But, ironically, fell for it. His eyes instantly reddened, and he punched the wall with force. Blood trickled down his knuckles, yet he seemed not to feel the pain. "Get all the hospital specialists here. Use the best equipment. No matter the cost, no matter how much money, save both the mother and child." He grabbed the head doctor's collar and roared, "If you can't save them both, mother and child, I'll make sure your entire obstetrics department faces a lawsuit." My face drained of all color. I huddled in the hallway, staring blankly as my husband fought desperately for another woman like a madman. Brittany, however, still wasn't satisfied. She cried out dramatically and theatrically, "Mr. Marcus, I'm in so much pain. But to have your child, it's all worth it. Don't blame Mrs. Grace, she didn't mean it. Please, don't punish her." Those last few words were bitten out by the woman with particular emphasis. Marcus immediately understood. When he turned to me, only disgust remained. "Grace, it's all because of you. That she went into premature labor." He dialed Brittany's phone and had a nurse take it into the delivery room. Marcus put it on speaker and said to the other end, "Brittany, listen carefully. I won't let you suffer alone. Grace will feel more pain than you." At his signal, several bodyguards advanced towards me. I felt as if I'd been struck by lightning, realizing with horror what he intended to do. Trembling, I pleaded, "I'm pregnant with your child too. You can't do this to me. Let me go. I'll leave with the baby and never bother you." His pupils constricted slightly, as if my words had pricked him. But in an instant, he sneered again, "Grace, you dare to lie? I always used protection, and I gave you so much medicine. How could you possibly be pregnant with my child?" Before, he constantly claimed he felt heartbroken for me, unwilling to let me endure the hardship of pregnancy. How ridiculous that, to conceive his child, I had to stoop to picking up used condoms from the trash like a thief, over and over, just to undergo IVF treatment. Now, my husband, his face cold like a demon from hell, strode purposefully towards me. Shaking all over, I shielded my lower abdomen. A miracle was growing there, a life that had broken through countless obstacles to come into the world. It would be my last baby in this lifetime. I had to protect it no matter what. I slumped to the ground, as if I had lost all human dignity and responsiveness. Driven only by some lingering instinct, I scrambled on all fours toward the corner. Behind me, the three secretaries' undisguised laughter echoed. "Mr. Marcus, look at her like this, doesn't she look like a dog?" They swayed their hips, crowding close to my husband, practically pressing their swollen breasts against him. Just then, the nurse's urgent voice blared from the phone speaker, "Ms. Brittany, the baby's head is crowning. Push harder." Brittany was sobbing uncontrollably, yet she didn't forget to shout, "Marcus, I love you. If I don't make it, promise you'll remember me forever." Marcus gripped his phone tightly, his accusing gaze piercing me like an arrow. He grabbed my long hair, dragging me to heavily kowtow towards the delivery room. "If it weren't for you, she wouldn't have gone into premature labor. Apologize to her now. Grace, you barren waste, how dare you be jealous of them? If anything happens to Brittany, I'll take your life." The three secretaries pointed at me, laughing hysterically, and even began kicking my lower abdomen. Blood continuously gushed from below. In agony, I trembled as I propped myself up. My fingertips struggled forward, finally touching the man's pant leg. "Marcus, save our..." But then, a sharp cheer erupted from the delivery room. "Congratulations, Mr. Marcus. It's a healthy baby boy, 8 pounds. Marcus abruptly pulled back his leg and, in a burst of wild joy, rushed into the delivery room, his dress shoe mercilessly grinding over my fingers. I heard the sound of bones shattering, but I no longer felt any pain. Curled in a pool of blood, I watched his back grow steadily blurred. Just as my consciousness was fading, I fell into a warm embrace. "I'm too late." The distinguished man's hands trembled as he gently caressed my cheek, his voice laced with unmistakable heartbreak. "Grace, what happened? Who did this to you? I'll make them pay for this with blood." The surrounding temperature plummeted instantly. After a furious phone call, the entire hospital trembled. The director, along with the full team of specialists, rushed over. After a suffocating half-hour, the test results finally came. The hard-won little life in my womb had miraculously survived. The director, hands trembling, presented the diagnosis, his voice betraying extreme fear of the man's identity. Madam, this is nothing short of a medical miracle. Your fetus is perfectly normal. But you must remember, given your constitution, conceiving this child was already a blessing. The slightest carelessness could lead to. Please, you must take care of yourself. These words were the match that lit a fuse in Alexander's mind. He rushed to my bedside, his large hand gently resting on my lower abdomen. His tone, usually so gentle with me, now held an icy chill. Grace, how did your body become like this? You barely even caught colds before. But now, grief felt like swallowing shards of glass, my mouth full of blood I couldn't spit out. After a long silence, I finally squeezed out a sentence from my throat. Alexander, please don't ask. I beg you. My raised eyes shifted slightly when I met his sinister and terrifying gaze. The most distinguished man in the city's most powerful circles paused. He slowly leaned down and kissed my brow and eyes. His tone was no longer cool and detached. His voice had become viscous and dark. Don't be afraid. As long as I'm by your side, no one will dare to harm you again. Just a wall away. In the hallway outside the room, several nurses crowded by the door, their excited voices perfectly audible to me. Wow, so she's Mrs. Alexander? Did you see? His eyes were terrifyingly red when Alexander rushed in. I've worked in obstetrics for so many years and never seen a man that desperate. She's so lucky. Alexander, who always dominates the gambling tables, is so anxious about her. I heard he just arrived from a game in Monaco, and his private jet landed directly at the hospital. Another nurse exclaimed, Alexander is really handsome. I used to only see paparazzi photos of him in newspapers, but in person, he's absolutely stunning. An older nurse joined the conversation, her face full of gossip. I heard Alexander is always emotionless and cold at the poker table, but just now. TSK, you should have seen his expression when he was on the phone. Just then, a man in a sharp suit pushed past their shoulders and strode in, speaking in a cold voice. Grace. He almost bit out the name. I was just giving you a small lesson. Why would you, when? He looked up, he saw a man, a complete stranger to him, standing by my bedside, gently fussing over me. Marcus's face turned completely dark. He glared at Alexander, who was leaning over to tuck the blanket around me. Who is he? I weakly tried to prop myself up, but he pressed down on my shoulder. His voice was extremely cold. When did this start? Huh? I leave for just a moment, and you dare bring another man to the hospital? His breathing was ragged. He watched me anxiously, awaiting my reply. The man who used to be so aloof, so stingy with even a single expression, could one day show such immense emotional turbulence. Now, my face utterly drained of color, I weakly spoke to him. Let me introduce you. This is Alexander, my childhood neighbor. I paused, trying to appear calm. You're not the only one with a childhood sweetheart. I have my childhood friend too. I lifted my pale, bloodless face to him. Marcus, I am formally informing you now. I want a divorce. After the divorce, I will be with him. I would never forget that at our wedding, the usually aloof CEO of Hayes suddenly shed tears during the vows. I thought he was moved by my tender affection. Looking back now, those tears must have been for Claire. He hadn't married the woman he truly wanted in the prime of his life. My heart, once given to him without reservation, was gone forever. His mind exploded, shattered by those two sentences. A rare flicker of jealousy appeared in the man's usually indifferent eyes. His brows furrowed, his expression clearly displeased. He slightly raised his eyes, a commanding threat in his gaze. How dare you do this to me? Don't think you can just find some actor to put on a show and make me jealous, then abandon those 3 pregnant women. I'm a father now, and I must take on my paternal responsibilities. Marcus suddenly took a step closer, and along with the temperature in his eyes, his tone dropped too. But rest assured, he deliberately drew out the words, his voice filled with nauseating condescension. I won't forget to be your husband either. His initial panic and shock had vanished, replaced by coldness and rage. He reached out and pinched my chin, forcing me to look up at him. I'll try my best to treat all 5 of you equally. I'll make sure to visit you 2 days a week. You should be satisfied with that. I coldly curled my lips, the chill in my eyes almost freezing over. I'm truly sorry to disappoint you, I said slowly. This time, it's not an act. He and I have known each other for over 20 years, far longer than the 8 years we've known each other. But I never introduced him to you because after we started dating, I deliberately cut off contact with him, barely speaking to him anymore. My voice grew colder. Because I knew that as your girlfriend, wife, and lover, I should keep my distance from all other men. I suddenly chuckled. But what about you? Marcus, you're not like that. I suspect you're still pining for your deceased childhood sweetheart. Not to mention your heart is now completely filled with those 4 pregnant women. Where would I possibly fit? I suddenly looked up, my gaze resolute. Since you're already a father, I'll take good care of my child as well. Even if his father is you, I will raise the child on my own, without the father's involvement, and start a new life. I pulled out my phone, my fingers tapping lightly on the screen. I'll send the divorce agreement to your phone in a moment. He heard this and laughed coldly. Didn't I tell you? It's impossible for you to be pregnant. I added medication to your food, your tea, your coffee, to every meal I brought you. Grace, the fact that I haven't abandoned you, this barren hen, is already my greatest favor to you. How dare you ask for more? Even at this moment, he clung to his conviction. Suppressing the bitterness in my eyes, I slapped the diagnosis report onto his face. See for yourself, my voice as cold as ice. Open your dog eyes and tack. A good look, whether or not I'm pregnant. Unwilling to look at his repulsive face any longer, I lowered my head and swiftly scrolled on my phone, continuing to edit the divorce agreement. I was once a top-tier lawyer from one of the city's leading law firms. Drafting a divorce agreement was easier than breathing for me. However, in less than 3 seconds, his incredulous voice interrupted me. No, impossible. You haven't been pregnant all these years, so how could you suddenly have my child at this crucial moment? I slowly opened my eyes, the disgust in them almost overflowing. I'm sorry to disappoint you, I said, pulling at the corner of my mouth, my smile utterly sarcastic. When you said never hire another female secretary, I naively thought you were the most trustworthy man I'd ever meet. For that, I underwent 99 IVF treatments for you, fighting to my last breath to conceive your child, not wanting you to miss out on the experience of fatherhood. Marcus, do you have any idea how much it hurt each time those needles pierced my body? Every single time, I felt like I was dying on the operating table. It was my feelings for you that kept me going. My gaze slowly drifted down to his trembling hands, and I suddenly smiled, but what I didn't expect was that you would impregnate 4 other women. And just now, you became a father. Oh, and congratulations, Mr. Marcus. How does it feel to have a son? He stumbled towards me, mumbling, No, it's not like that. I had already planned it out. Even though I swore to Claire that I wouldn't let you have children, didn't we agree? The children those secretaries bear. They would call you mom and be raised by you. When they grew up, they would be filial to you and take care of you in your old age. However, before he could get a few steps closer to the bed, Alexander, who had been silent, swung a powerful punch that forced him back several steps. The usually moody man spoke in a low voice, You scum of a man, what right? Do you have to approach Grace? I heard everything you just said, loud and clear. Not only did you cheat, but you even impregnated 4 women. You're no longer fit to be her husband. From now on, I'll take her back and take good care of her. As for the child in her belly, you don't need to worry about it. I don't care whose child it is. In my heart, it's Grace's baby. Since this is her last child, I will raise it as my own. I gently shook my head. Alexander, you don't have to go so far for me. Then, under Marcus's stunned gaze, he slowly knelt and said to me, Grace, don't worry. I will never repeat his mistakes. After you're discharged from the hospital, I'll get a vasectomy. Since my descendants might be born through you, there's no need for them to exist in this world otherwise. You have to believe me, I'm different from him. I'll never be like a philandering stud. These provocative words infuriated Marcus. The 2 powerful men tore into each other in the hospital room because of me. Alexander suddenly erupted, punching Marcus in the face. You can't even take care of Grace, so you should know better and get out. Marcus wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, a furious rage burning in his eyes. Who do you think you are? The 2 men instantly lunged at each other, overturning in 4 pull, glass bottles shattering everywhere. Until, stop. A nurse rushed in, sharply ordering them. This is a hospital. She stood between them, her voice trembling with anger. If you want to fight, take it outside. The patient needs rest. With that, she slowly walked in, picked up several documents she was holding, and said to Marcus, Sir, these are your son's medical examination reports. Please look them over so we can file them. Only then did the 2 men release each other. Alexander calmly walked to my side and poured a glass of warm water. Marcus, his face grim, straightened his disheveled tie, quickly scanned the papers, and prepared to sign. But suddenly, a few RDS on the page stung his eyes. He crumpled the papers and hurled them at the nurse's face, roaring, "You bunch of incompetents. My blood type is A, and Brittany's is B. How could we possibly have an O-type child? How can you make such a basic mistake? I'm going to see your director right now. You'll be packing your bags and out of here immediately." The nurse whirled around, her gaze sharp as a knife. 20 years of professional dignity made her stand her ground. "I've handled thousands of blood sample tests, and I've never made a mistake. It's not my professionalism that should be questioned, but you." Her gaze pierced straight into his heart like an arrow. "Think carefully, is this child really yours?" With that, the nurse turned and walked away, giving him no further courtesy. The color drained completely from Marcus's face, usually so composed and calculating. I watched Marcus's hasty retreat, a cold smirk playing on my lips. How ironic, this man, who had never known defeat in the business world, was finally brought down by something like this. He no longer had time to argue with Alexander. His face pale, he hastily left the room. He probably went to confront the secretaries. I remembered kneeling outside the IVF operating room once. The attending physician looked at me with pity. "Ms. Grace, the sample you provided is less than 1/10 of the normal value. Doing this is just a waste of effort. Continuing to try will only torment you." Back then, I stubbornly refused to believe it, even acting like a pathetic thief, secretly taking his used condoms for testing. Marcus's body was even worse than mine. He had been diagnosed with severe oligospermia at a young age. All these years, when he disregarded my pleas during business dinners, when he clinked glasses at banquets, when he spent nights away at clubs, did he ever imagine a day like this would come? Given his physical condition, it was completely impossible for him to impregnate 4 women at once. The child they carried in their bellies, who knew whose they were? In the end, Marcus was the only prey for these 4 women. But now, none of this mattered to me anymore. All I had to do now was finalize the divorce process with him and then restart my life. Since he wanted to be a father so badly, I would raise the child on my own, without the father's involvement. This was the most satisfying revenge I could give him. I never thought the heavens would have eyes. Marcus finally got his comeuppance. I gently stroked my slightly bulging lower abdomen, and tears of laughter suddenly welled up. After being discharged from the hospital, Alexander insisted I move into the seaside mansion at Starhaven. He instructed the butler to find the top medical team in the city's most powerful circles to constantly monitor my health. It took me nearly half an hour just to tour this mansion, which had sold for an astronomical price last month. It was countless times more luxurious than the Hayes family estate where I used to live. When I went to the basement, I found a room in an inconspicuous corner. Approaching the hidden oak door, I tried to push it open directly, but found it had a key code. After his birthday didn't work, I instinctively entered my own birthday, and with a soft beep, it unlocked successfully. Pushing open the door, I was shocked to see the walls and tables densely covered with my photos. There were also photos of me with classmates from childhood, passport photos, and even candid shots taken from various angles. My profile from last winter, lost in thought at a coffee shop, candid shots from when I worked as a lawyer. This heavy love felt like a hand squeezing my breath. I knew he had harbored a crush on me since childhood. He used to tease me when we were kids, and as adults, he began to pursue me relentlessly. But due to the shadow of his childhood bullying, I had never accepted his advances. Only when pushed to the brink did I remember that perhaps there was a second person in the world who loved me so deeply, and that's why I sought him out. But I never imagined he would have such an obsession with me, far exceeding anything I could have conceived. Still, this was somewhat within my acceptable limits. After all, everyone has hobbies, his just happened to be me. Just as I turned to leave, my sharp eyes noticed a large black box under the table. Although I knew it wasn't right to pry into someone's privacy, I couldn't resist my curiosity and wanted to open that Pandora's box. Just as I was getting closer to the box, a pair of arms suddenly wrapped around my waist, embracing me. The man's voice was low and tender, tinged with a cautious eagerness to please. "Grace, I've been looking for you for a while. Why did you come down here alone? You like the photos I took of you, don't you? I wanted to capture all your happy and sad moments, hoping that one day I could share them with you." His fingertips gently traced the photos on the wall, his eyes filled with an undeniable obsession. "Now you know, for more than 20 years, I've never stopped watching you." I forced myself to calm down and pointed at the box in the corner, asking, "Can I know what's in that box?" A flicker of panic crossed his eyes, and his long, soft eyelashes trembled. "From now on, you're the mistress of this house. You can do anything you wish." I silently opened the lid of the box. Inside were various items I had unintentionally lost over the years. From a hair tie I used in my student days to my high school jacket, even the earrings I lost while shopping just a few days ago were perfectly preserved. That's enough. I quickly closed the box, my voice trembling slightly. I understand your feelings. Suppressing the discomfort in my heart, I said calmly, Alexander, if you want anything in the future, just tell me directly. Alexander awkwardly turned his face away, his earlobes turning red. I want to keep everything you've used. His voice grew softer. You always have a special scent about you. His obsessed gaze made my heart pound. He was about to launch into an effusive declaration of love, but I couldn't help but interrupt him. I gently took his hand and led him out of the basement. Now that he's willing to accept me and offer me a sanctuary, perhaps we truly can live a quiet life, just like any ordinary family. However, that peace was short-lived, shattered by the persistent presence of Marcus. That day, the butler approached hesitantly to report, Madam, there's a man outside claiming to be your husband. Would you like me to inform Mr. Alexander about this matter? Chloe rubbed her temples. No, that won't be necessary. I'll handle this. Chloe invited Marcus into the living room. The bodyguards and butler stood nearby, observing the scene with palpable tension, as if on high alert, fearing what he might do to her. In front of everyone, he suddenly dropped to his knees and lunged towards me, saying, I know I made a mistake. Your childhood friend has taught me a harsh lesson. He's practically taken everything from me. He used stock market manipulation to drive my company to the brink of bankruptcy. Are you satisfied now? He looked up. Once those secretaries saw my downfall, they all abandoned me and quickly latched onto other men. I won't let them get away with it. Suddenly, he gripped the hem of my skirt, his voice soft and pleading, Grace, will you come home with me? If only you and the child would stay by my side, I promise I can make a comeback and provide you with an even more opulent life than you have now. No matter how wealthy Alexander is, he's just a gambler. How could he ever be worthy of you? At that moment, his palm felt scorching hot, like perpetually boiling water. Chloe suppressed the growing heartache, slowly shook her head, and calmly met the gaze of the man kneeling before her. You're still so utterly deluded, even now. It seems you truly have lost your mind. She swept her gaze over him from head to toe, her voice laced with chilling indifference. I suddenly realize the only person in this world who truly deserves you is your deceased childhood sweetheart, Claire. Chloe's gaze dropped slightly, her fingertips gently tracing the curve of her swollen belly. She continued, I'm doing very well here. I don't have a husband who comes home drunk every morning, demanding I cater to him, nor a CEO husband who flirts with his secretaries. A sarcastic smile played on her lips. At least Alexander never makes me worry he'll cheat on me the next second, and he certainly wouldn't throw me out of our home. When the tears outweigh the love, that's when it's time to end things. Chloe stood up, looking down at him. I'll plead on your behalf, so he'll leave you a way out. However, she paused. A golden boy like you would probably never be able to accept an ordinary life, would he? Before turning away, she gave him one last look. I've given you too many chances. But from now on, I'm done. Marcus, you're on your own. He opened his mouth as if to argue, but Chloe simply raised her hand, signaling to the butler, show him out. Soon after, Chloe heard that Alexander was absolutely incensed upon learning of the incident. Marcus had, in the end, severely underestimated his reach. Before, out of consideration for Chloe's feelings, Alexander had never truly intervened. But this time was different. He could no longer tolerate anyone coveting Chloe, who he had already taken under his wing. Marcus's legs were broken, and addictive drugs were injected into his system. He was then discarded like a lifeless animal at the entrance of the rehabilitation facility. What awaited him was an eternal hell, from which he would never escape. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section, so feel free to share your views. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. We'll see you next time.